Hey guys, I recently wrote an article called Attachment is Not the Root of Suffering. And I got a response from the publisher, which I thought was really interesting, that they would not feel comfortable pushing it forward because it went against Buddhist philosophy. So call me crazy. I'm a psychology person, I'm not a Buddhist person. I mean, to be fair, Buddhist in philosophy, but I'm Christian and Jew curious, and I'm all over the place. I see it all, I understand it all, in terms of like how people relate to their own experiences and resonations of um, religions. But I'm definitely not Buddhist. I wasn't trying to preach Buddha is wrong, though. I wasn't trying to preach anything. All I'm saying is that suffering is not the root, or attachment is not the root of suffering. It's simple, it's obvious, everything in nature is connected, everything in nature, nothing can create anything without being connected first to something else, okay? So creation at its core is connection. And we try, god damn it, we try so hard to get out of these connections, to build walls, to say that like you're separate from me, you're not me, but dude, we're connected. And so obvious how connected we are when we hate each other until somebody gets into a motorcycle accident or something crazy happens and all of a sudden people are like, oh my god, that could be us. That happens in the mind, but on an etheric level, we are always connected, okay? And the root of suffering is actually not having that source connection. We long for the same connections that we would desire from our mother, right? And I think oftentimes we attribute God to be a father. And I know for me in my life that felt very strategic and practical and isolating and kind of lonely for a long time, until I realized that, dude, God is totally a mother also, okay? So she's the nurturer. She's the thing that we wanted. She's the avatar that we wanted to show up for ourselves our entire lives. And had we been a different character of ourselves at that time, that we wanted somebody to come and save us, we might have been a different person. Like it could have been that kind of nurturing person coming in and saving us, instead of what we likely did, which was we had the avatar of like somebody coming in and berating us. Instead of dealing with criticisms only outside of the self, we took it and internalized it and told ourselves that we were pieces of shit. So the root of suffering, I believe, is the separation that we feel from not the person or the thing, but the feeling of the person and thing, when we no longer have it. So the second that a child starts individuating from its mother, it's going to have this feeling, and which ultimately happens, depending on which philosophies you look at, between like 2 and 4 years old, and maybe even as young as 18 months, to when the child individuates. And we do this many, many times. I don't see, they say in psychological texts that children individuate at certain ages, but I have been a parent for almost 14 years, and I have 3 kids, and I watch them individuate at various times, and I still, as an adult woman, feel myself individuate. And that individuation process almost becomes harder the further and further we get away from the initial feeling of being connected to that almost like mother source vibration. So oftentimes we look to other people to fill this mother source vibration, this feeling of nurturance, this safety, this connectability. I can lay here and feel out of control because I know you have it. You're not going to harm me. You're going to tell me pretty things. I'm going to feel like I'm, laying in a flower field and I'm just wombed by the earth because of your presence. We deeply want that in other people. So we expect it, especially of our partners. And so here's the thing. There's many, depending on which philosophy you look at, it doesn't even matter, actually. There's only considered one route, one secure attachment style, okay? And this is when a parent basically lets their children, individuate on their own. They are kind of in the middle. They speak as authoritative rather than authoritarian. They're also not passive. There's boundaries. There's understanding of, like, there's clarity. They tell their kids what to do instead of what not to do. And at the end of the day, that's supposedly the only healthy attachment style. I think if we lived in a world where everyone was healthy attachment, the individual woundings that we all have that would even require us to practice the idea of non-attachment would be eradicated. Because the idea of non-attachment ultimately, and I receive the concept and I honor the concept, but it implies we have to escape the experience, okay? And when we know, okay, when we're smart enough to know we are actually this illusion, this part's the illusion, we also have to be smart enough when we can look down at the character that we play in life and go, that's just, you know, I don't have to be attached to that because it's not really me. Well, guess fucking what? You're here because the experience that you're supposed to have is to embody into that character and become that character and create from that character in a three-dimensional reality. So it's not actually, you know, I think a lot of people escape with the idea of non-attachment and say, I'm not attached because I'm going to be closer to enlightenment in some way, or I'm just going to bypass the situation. But the reality is that we're all attached. We're all supposed to be attached. And we're all looking for that attachment. And to believe in the idea that we cannot be attached to what we want implies that what we do is we're so afraid to not get what we want that we just say, I'm just not going to attach to it. And we don't then even let ourselves want it in the first place. So at the end of the day, to say I am not attached to the things that I love or to the outcome of this thing, and that's the thing. A non-attachment becomes a very serious need when we attach our identities to our outcomes. So I'm not dismissing the idea of non-attachment, but I am definitely saying that attachment is definitely not the root of suffering. The root of suffering is to not have the attachment that we seek in the first place. And we ideally find that initially, that vibration in our mother, and ideally life circumstances have it so that we never lose that vibration. But when we do lose that vibration, when life takes a hold of us, rips us apart, and makes us feel like shit, and like we're in hell, and like we're never going to get back to the flow or to life and to like who we think we're supposed to be, the further we go into the rabbit hole of that, the harder it is to get back to the source vibration. And the source vibration is the attachment to the truth of your being, which is the truth of yourself, which is the truth of our connections, which is the truth of there is, you know, emptiness is creativity, is connection, is there's a million other people laying in bed feeling as empty as you feel, whether you think that they are or not. And the light is, dude, we're all totally connected. So I'm sorry to like ruffle feathers in the publishing company, but dude, I had to get on camera and say that attaching to things is nature, and if we don't do that, it's because we're building walls that actually nurture us out of our own nature. And that sucks, because we came here to be human. We came here to know ourselves. So may you attach to what you actually love and what you actually want, and not attach it to your identity, and not attach it to any meanings or values that it means about you and your worth. But may you fucking grab on hard to the shit that you love, and may you actually reach for what you want, because you're not going to get a thing until you attach to it. Nothing can be created without first attaching to it, to something else, okay? And that something else could just be simply an idea. This guy was so attached to the idea that, like, non-attachment is the only thing that can be spread that he wouldn't let me share it. So I wanted to get on here and say that today. So thank you for bearing with me. I hope it made sense to you, and I hope that you find what you love and attach to it very hard. Bye, guys.